So let's get started. So welcome. Thank you guys all for joining me. I know that you don't necessarily have all the props that I have, so I do have a bolster and blocks. If you have those, definitely bring them to your mat. If you don't, grab 2 to 4 pillows, so whatever you kind of have available. We are going to start with a little bit of grounding and a slight heart opener, so you will need those props. And we're going to start in supported fish. So if you know how to get there, you are welcome to just make your way there now. If you're not quite sure how to do that with your props, if you have pillows, just stack a couple of pillows on top of one another, and you'll just slowly make your way down so that about your bra strap and above into the shoulder blades, that area will be supported by your pillows. Chin will be slightly lifted up, but back of your head is supported as well. And then arms come out wide to about a T shape. If you want to get deeper, cactus your arms, you can diamond shape them. But just make sure your shoulders are softened down your back. If you have props like a bolster and blocks, you're welcome to take your bolster lengthwise and just lay over top of it. Very similar positioning, just a slightly different use of your props. Okay. So just check in with where you've landed. You might need to adjust slightly. Maybe walk your shoulders underneath you. Make sure that there's no pulling in your lower back. You might need to bring the prop higher up your spine, more towards your shoulders if you're feeling that in the low back. And today's class is really, I just wanted it to be about nourishment and just taking a moment for yourself. So you have so much agency in this practice. You can butterfly your legs out, soles of your feet together. You can just simply plant your feet. Knees can also drop in that shape. Or you can extend your legs long. So lots and lots of options of how you want to show up in this heart opener. But I encourage you to start in a place that's just soft and gentle. Let your eyelids rest heavy. We'll just start with a couple of deep breaths to ground into this place. So empty out any air that you're holding on to. Inhale, take a big sip of air through your nose. Feel a little pause at the top, and then exhale, soften. Inhale through your nose. Rib cage rises up and out. Pause. And exhale, just let that go. Inhale to fill up. Feel air move through your nostrils, down towards your lungs. And then exhale, almost like a sigh with your body, just melt. Full breath in. And even fuller breath out. You notice what it is to just simply be here in this moment. Maybe notice anything that you're bringing with you to your mat tonight from your day or your week or even your year. And instead of our natural tendency to push away the things that have sucked this year or week or day, or to hide from the emotions below the line, can you allow your mat to be a place of pure acceptance? Sometimes we land on our mat trying to get away from what's happening in our life. We use it to check out. And so I encourage you tonight, if it feels safe enough to do so, allow yourself to just simply land as you are. If tonight what you need is to just kind of dissociate for a moment and take that space, if that's what safety and nourishment feels like, know that you definitely can land on your mat for that. But eventually start to create this safe space that you can land however you are. That you can hold space for the joy and the grief, for the ups and the downs. Because each and every one of those emotions is full of richness, of direction, of your intuition. It's full of richness of this journey ahead of you, and how you're feeling in this moment will determine what that next step will be. And so if you can just sit with these emotions, let them pass, so you have space to be in that next moment and the moment after. I'll leave you here for just a moment in silence on my end, because silence is truly golden in this space. Heart gently cracked open, but you'll feel that support beneath you. So even in this space of maybe physical vulnerability, you can also just soften and let the earth and your props hold you up. And then just take a minute or so, this last minute of this pose, to simply sit with yourself and start to welcome yourself with your arms this wide open. Take a big breath in and allow your heart to rise a little higher, chest to open up just that much more. And then as you exhale, sink your weight into the surface beneath you. You can stay with your lower body as it is, and just slowly start to gather your hands in closer to your body. And then, like you're hugging yourself, reach your hands for opposite shoulders and just allow your arms to rest over top of your chest. Don't worry which elbow is on top. Just soften your shoulders, down your back. You might even just let your hands hang heavy beside your shoulders, or they can gently rest. Notice some of that sensation of the opening across the chest now just being embraced. Of whoever has shown up on your mat today, whatever version of you this is, that you are now just creating that safe space, that sanctuary on your mat for them to land. On your next inhale breath, gently unwind your arms, reach overhead, just take a stretch. You might even clasp your hands. And then exhale, take the other side. So just opposite elbow lands over top. You'll know as it might feel a little bit stickier than the first side. You just take a couple of deep breaths, holding yourself here. A reminder that the one person you need most in this world is you. And can this be a place where you just learn to show up for yourself? Gently unwind your arms one more time. Take a big stretch overhead. Just reach your arms back. Maybe you hold hands or wrists. And then gently start to bring your hands back in towards your body and just roll yourself over towards your right hand side for fetal position. Head rests heavy onto your right bicep or even onto a pillow. Before we get moving into this next pose, allow yourself to embrace this pause. Let go of that urgency to push ahead or know what's next, and just take a deep breath. Follow that by another 3 deep breaths. Maybe feeling your spine start to release. As you slow down, you become aware of the smallest of movements that actually are happening within. We become so much more in tune with the present moment. Use your left hand over the next few breaths, absolutely no rush, to press yourself up to simply a comfortable seat. So you can try cross-legged with your ankles crossed. If this doesn't feel good for your hips, it doesn't mean you can't do yoga or you can't do this pose. Just sit up onto your pillows. So that'll give you a little bit more height, and then you can slightly, instead of having the knees up, just tilt the knees forward. Land your hands onto your knees or your thighs and just roll your shoulders once or twice. Just physically shifting through maybe any tenderness or stickiness in the body. Gently humble your chin towards your chest. On an inhale breath, start to glide your right ear towards your right shoulder, lifting your chin ever so slightly. And then as you exhale, trace your chin in a half circle and then bring other ear to shoulder. I'm just going to take a couple of half circles to release any tension in the upper traps and top part of your shoulders, sides of your neck. As the arms are an extension of the heart center. And so as we open through the chest, we also start to allow this to expand outwards to these other areas of our body. The next time that you move through center, you can just pause and, keeping your chin tucked, start to slide your hands forward and fold. You have options to keep a neutral spine and chin slightly tucked to lengthen up the back of your head or neck. You can use your props, pillow or bolster, to fold over top of and take your chest down and round your spine. You might even support the weight of your head with any of the props that you have available. You allow this to be gentle. Ease back from the intensity and give yourself a space to just be present. Our body is amazing at knowing what it needs. To find alignment, we have to create the space to listen. And so if we push our body past gentleness into a place of fear or pain or somewhere that's unsafe, our body will tighten up and it will just react. And so you just want to be having this really gentle conversation with your body, rather than flashing red warning lights. Can you just allow yourself to listen, explore, just get to know this version of yourself that showed up tonight? All of the thoughts, all of the emotions that you're carrying, that you just get to sit with them for a moment and offer compassion for this version of yourself that's landed on your mat. These next few breaths, can you start to bring your attention back to this moment? If you've got wound up in narrative or stories of your own mind, can you just come back to your breath? Because your breath is your anchor to the present moment. It's real, it's tactile, and your breath only lives in the present. Can you allow yourself to just connect in maybe 1, 2 more breaths? And let everything else fade for just a moment. Take your time to gently walk your fingertips up and towards your body. Walk your hands back and start to pick up your knees, untangle your feet. You can either just extend your legs out in front of you, lean back to release hip flexors, or you can always plant your feet and add in a little movement if that's what you're craving, dropping knees side to side. Next pose that we'll move into is a variation of a twist. So come back onto your seat and bend your knees up, and then scoop your feet over towards your right. So you're sitting on your left hip. Find your pillows or bolsters and just bring them over towards your left hip, left thigh. Now you can fold with your knees stacked, or you can always start to separate your knees and just draw your right knee back in more of a deer shape. Instead of folding forward over top of your front shin, start to turn yourself over top of your left thigh. So you're twisting over to the left, and then walk your hands down and start to drape your body towards the ground. You can play with whether you are more towards your hip where you're folding, or you're folding more over top of the knee or the thigh. There's no perfection in this pose or in this practice. If it's just a different twist that you need, please know that you can always take a different pose or a different variation of this pose. Just take the time to listen. Take a couple of breaths to land with what is that small, kind of meek voice of the body that's often overpowered by our thoughts. And can you allow that smaller yet still powerful voice to guide you? That you give it power by giving it space to be heard. Maybe taking your mind out of the driver's seat for a moment and just allow your body to step in. As we move through this practice, you'll have little pockets of space. And your mind will continue to move, because that's the job of the mind, is to think, is to perceive and create stories. When the world around us is so chaotic and the rhythm keeps changing and it just feels like madness some days, this is the practice, is to just sit back and watch. And that includes your own thoughts. When you start attaching to those thoughts, you take that outer chaos of the unknown and you start to pull it within. And you worry and you go over something and you wonder. And so tonight, I offer you, in these spaces of stillness and of silence, can you just sit with what's happening? Maybe start to befriend your fears and acknowledge any insecurities. See the parts of yourself that you'd rather not, and just sit with it. If you have an emotional response, just let it flow. It's just your body's way of releasing energy that's been tense or stocked up for a while. Breathe in deeply through your nose. Feel your belly rise out. And then exhale heavy. Take 2 more breaths just like that. Feel the lightness of the inhale and the release of the exhale. Take your time, just gently walk your hands up in towards your body. You can keep your pillows where they are, and then just turn yourself so that you land onto your seat and your knees will drop towards the ceiling. Lean back, you can gently wash your knees left and right. And then the time that your knees start to roll over towards your right hand side, you'll just roll over to that hip and you'll actually land kind of in this same shape. And so you'll be facing either the side, long or short edge of your mat, and folding over top of your right hip this time. Start to twist your body so that your heart is over top of your right thigh. And then just play with hinging and folding wherever is comfortable. If you feel unsupported in this pose, grab more pillows so that you have a deeper support to hold you up. You can also play with, instead of knees wide, you can slide that left knee in closer, more of a stacked knee variation of this twist as well. Allow yourself to just gently draw in to the shape. So that you can be fully present for yourself. I want you to imagine this conversation that you're having with your body, with your mind, your thoughts, your emotions. Like a conversation when you just need to talk to a friend. You don't necessarily need your friend's advice, and you don't need answers. It's cathartic to just release. To hear yourself say whatever is felt sticky, whatever has been lingering or weighing on you. And to just acknowledge the thought or the emotion. To just simply acknowledge what's happening so you no longer have to carry it. In that same way that we can feel better when we share, when we feel connection, now you get to create that within. That you become both the listener and the sharer. And just as your friend would hold space for you, hold space for yourself. one more minute in this shape. Take about 8 to 10 breaths. And despite having this conversation or witnessing this version of yourself, can you also anchor to your breath? Let your breath be the safe rhythm that always guides you. So no matter what this conversation is moving like between your body and yourself, that you can always just take a pause and breathe. And the breath never leaves you. We simply check out of our breath. And so it's always there to just hold your hand in those tough moments and continue to walk you forward. Gently walk your fingertips back up and towards your hip. Untwist your body, rolling onto your seat again. Okay. Walk your hands back and then check in with, do you want movement, dropping the knees, or do you just want to extend the legs long? And lean into your hands and tip your gaze up. Just allowing that sensation to fade. Eventually bend into your knees, plant your feet, and just bring yourself to a tabletop facing into your props so that they're there if you want them and you don't have to move them around. All right, if you're craving any movement of the spine, you're welcome to take it. Moving towards half pigeon, or in Yin, we call this swan. Bring your right knee towards your right wrist and then shuffle your right foot over towards the left side of your mat. Don't worry if the foot isn't parallel. Your toes might point more back at an angle, and that's okay. And then slide your left toes back behind you. Walk your fingertips up just to come upright and set the hips so they're square. And if you feel like you're falling onto your right hip, just scoop a pillow underneath that hip. On your own time, you can play with lowering and lower belly, and then heart, and then head will come down. Almost like you're draping over top of your front thigh, front shin, just easing your way towards the earth. If at any point this pose feels like too much, you can always come towards deer, which is almost that shape we were just in. Instead of twisting over your thigh, you would just fold over top of your shin instead. Hip openers are known to be poses where emotions sometimes bubble up, where we start to feel those little pangs at the corner of our face. You start to kind of feel a little bit of tension at first. Just as you would never tell someone you care about to stop crying or hold it in, allow yourself this same gift. If you're feeling emotions at any point, whatever they are, instead of trying to press them back down into the pressure cooker they're already in, let them bubble to the surface. Because once they bubble to the surface and they linger there for long enough, they just start to evaporate. And that's the hard part about emotions, is we actually have to sit with them long enough to almost realize why we no longer need to sit with them. And then we can let them go. And so whatever your experience is here on your mat, I encourage you to just simply allow it to flow. Allow whatever comes up to pass through, and just continue to breathe. The hip center in yoga chakras represents our right to feel. And to feel everything. Not just the good, but the bad and the somewhere in between, all of that. It's a general acceptance of what you feel in a moment. And this is the step to openness and unconditional love, is first you just have to feel it, so that you can actually start to let it go and just simply show up in this world as this incredible open vessel, able to shift with the tides, to see things from different perspectives. You have to let go of those attachments. So you can think of, when emotions come up, just rinsing the body by allowing them to sit for a moment until they're ready to release. Gently, if you folded, over the next few breaths, you can make your way back up. If you are in deer, you can come onto your seat and just shift side to side. There's a couple of options from pigeon. You can just press back to a tabletop and shift your hips around. You can always tuck your toes and lift to down dog if that's a shape you're craving. You can always sit back to a child's pose, so there's no right, no wrong. In your own time, find the same shape on the other side. Left knee will draw towards your left wrist. Left ankle slides towards the right side of your mat. As you extend your right toes back behind you and just lift up for a brief moment. Think about this being the inhale where you lengthen and fill up. And the exhale is where you just start to soften down. You can use your props to hold up your chest or underneath your hips. If pigeon on this side is pulling on either knee, you can also take your deer shape, just bending into your back knee and then folding over top, this time of your left shin. Okay. Allow yourself to be in your body through this transition and just notice, where is that tension or gripping? And can you ease back from that a little bit? Maybe not go quite as deep from the start and just gradually work into it. It's kind of like that shock of jumping into a cold pool or an ice bath, that your body just tenses up right away and you panic of, how do I get out of this? And so we want to avoid that in this practice and just simply ease in. One toe dipping in at a time. That's why we have so much time in these poses. To give yourself space to adjust, to find your rhythm, to shift, rather than some chaotic scrambling to figure it out, just breath by breath, okay? Whether that's about your physical body or about your heart or about your mind, just breath by breath. Last couple of breaths on this side. Instead of fighting against your body or the pose, instead of resisting, can you just lean into this moment? Just pause and breathe and just soak it all in. And then when you exhale, just sigh it all out and repeat, rinse and repeat over and over. until you feel grounded. This time, instead of coming back to tabletop or down dog, just gently walk your hands in towards your body. Shift over to your left hip, bringing your right knee around in front. You can just straighten out your legs. Maybe even lean back. If you need to take movements, you can circle out ankles or flex or point into your feet. You feel the release into your hips. That where we are never lasts. It's always shifting, always fading. Gently walk your hands back up and towards your body, and then you're just going to take any fold that you are craving. Okay, so it might be a wide-legged fold. You can take your feet out to the sides. You can take a butterfly fold, soles of your feet together, or even more of a diamond shape. You can bring caterpillar with legs extended out in front, or even feet somewhat wide. And options in your fold, whatever feels best for your spine. So whether that's just hinging at the hips with a flat back, or maybe it's draping and leaning forward. You can also fold with bent knees if this feels like a lot for your hamstrings, or even pillows underneath your knees can be really nice for those of you that feel stuck in the hips. Okay. Wash away any belief of how this has to look or be, any expectation of your own body, and just breath by breath. And that can even become a mantra in these times of uncertainty. You don't have to have it all figured out right now in this breath. Breath by breath, we will make it to the other side of whatever obstacle we are facing. I promise. Last minute of this shape. Come back to your breath. Step out of the speaking and just back into the listening. Outside of the attachment and just back into the freedom of witnessing, holding space. on your own time and gracefully and more slowly than you'd like to. Stack your vertebra one at a time, head coming up last. Smoothly glide your feet to plant on your mat and then just lower all the way down. Trust your gut instinct to take any movements that you're craving. Sometimes it's nice just to reach overhead and stretch out. Maybe it's to curl in and just give yourself a big hug. We have a little extra time tonight, as I wanted to give you a moment if there's a final shape or pose that you need in this last minute or so, that you're welcome to take that. A happy baby could feel good, or a couple of breaths twisted to one side and then the other. If it's something I haven't mentioned, absolutely go to whatever you feel pulled towards. This is the practice of just learning to trust your gut and your intuition, especially in a time where it's hard to trust anything, that anything is solid or stable. Can you look within and see that you are stable, that you are connected, you are powerful, that you are the source of so much choice to follow your heart, your dreams, whatever it is that, drives you. That despite outside circumstances, we can just simply plant our feet into the earth and breathe. And some days that's enough. Eventually you will make your way to Shavasana. And if Shavasana is on your back with palms face up and legs extended, or on your side in fetal, or on your belly, whatever feels most grounding and connected for you. And before I leave you in silence on my end, just take a moment to connect back to holding space. Just feel whatever is within this incredible vessel you've been blessed with, this gift of a body. Lean into the hard stuff. Trust that it's there for a reason. And just continue to exhale and soften, like you're carving a passageway out for all the heaviness or things you've been carrying, to just simply breathe it out. Let your breath carry that. Breath by breath, we create a place for us to land. Breath by breath, you start to trust that you are safe. Breath by breath, you allow yourself to simply be. I'll bring you out of Shavasana shortly. This is your time to just sit with yourself and love. you want to stay in Shavasana a little bit longer, please just stay exactly as you are. This is your transition to your night, so make it the most nourishing you can. If you are choosing to shift out of Shavasana, you can just slowly start to wake up your physical body and bring yourself towards a comfortable seat. And I wanted to take a special mudra today, which you can do in seated or on your back by just simply interlacing your fingers to the webbing and then placing your hands over top of your heart. And just tap into the rhythm of your heartbeat, the rise and fall of your breath. This is your rhythm. And when all the rhythms outside of us change, when things shift and become uncertain, this is the rhythm you can trust. So just go through this journey one breath at a time. And when one breath feels stuck, whenever it feels overwhelming, just trust that there will always be that next breath. There will always be another moment where you can just let go. Sending you all so much love and gratitude for joining me tonight, and so much thought as we move through this together. Know that these are always here for you, live or recorded. We are still a community, even if we're apart. Namaste.